You have a stable job. You earn a decent salary. You're not living paycheck to paycheck in the traditional sense. You have savings, maybe some investments. On paper, you're doing fine. But here's what doesn't show up on paper. The constant low-level anxiety that one bad month could still throw everything off. The feeling that you're one unexpected expense away from having to rethink your entire budget. The sense that even though you're earning more than your parents did at your age, it somehow doesn't feel like enough. If that sounds familiar, you're not imagining it, and you're not bad with money. What you're experiencing is something specific to this moment in time, and it has very little to do with how disciplined you are. Let's talk about why being middle class in 2025 still feels financially risky, even when you're doing everything right. The problem starts with something simple. The middle class today is expected to fund things that used to be shared costs or didn't exist at all. Take healthcare. In many places, even with insurance, a single hospital visit can cost thousands. A dental procedure, a specialist appointment. These aren't luxuries, they're just life. But they hit your account like emergencies, even when they're completely routine. Or education. Whether it's paying off your own student loans or starting to save for your kids' future tuition, education has become a private expense that can stretch across decades. It's not unusual to see someone in their 40s still managing debt from their 20s, while simultaneously trying to build a college fund. Then there's housing. Rent in most cities has outpaced wage growth for years. Mortgages require down payments that take years to save. And even if you own your home, property taxes and maintenance costs keep climbing. You're not spending recklessly. You're just trying to live somewhere stable. What's happening is that the financial structure around middle-class life has quietly shifted. Costs that used to be absorbed by employers, governments, or communities are now individual responsibilities. And that shift happened faster than incomes adjusted. Here's where it gets tricky. Because you're earning a decent salary, you're also expected to maintain a certain lifestyle. Not out of vanity, but out of social and professional necessity. You need a reliable car because public transit doesn't reach your job. You need a phone plan, internet, streaming services, because that's how society operates now. You need to dress a certain way for work. You probably need childcare or elder care or both. None of these feel optional. They feel like the baseline. And then there are the things that aren't technically required but feel impossible to skip. A birthday dinner, a weekend trip, replacing the couch that's falling apart. These aren't indulgences, they're just the texture of a normal life, but they add up in ways that are hard to predict. So you end up in this strange position where your income is solid, but your margin for error is razor thin. You're not broke, you're just constantly aware that there's not a lot of room between fine and stressed. There's also the issue of variable income, even in stable jobs. Bonuses aren't guaranteed. Raises don't always keep up with inflation. Freelancers and contractors have unpredictable months. Even salaried employees face surprise gaps, like paying for work expenses up front and waiting weeks for reimbursement. Meanwhile, many of the bills you're responsible for are fixed. The mortgage is the same every month. The car payment doesn't care if you had a slow quarter. Insurance premiums don't pause when things are tight. This mismatch between variable income and fixed expenses is one of the reasons middle-class life feels risky. You're managing cash flow like a small business, but without the tools or cushion most businesses have. Then there's the psychological piece. Most people in the middle class grew up with some version of the same story. Work hard, get a good job, and you'll be secure. That was the deal. But today, hard work and a good job don't guarantee security the way they used to. They give you access, they give you options, but they don't eliminate risk. And that gap between expectation and reality creates a lot of stress. It's not just about money. It's about feeling like you followed the rules and still ended up vulnerable. So what actually helps? The first thing is recognizing that this isn't a personal failure. The system has changed, the math has changed, and pretending you can budget your way out of structural problems is just going to make you feel worse. What helps more is building flexibility into your financial life, not perfection, flexibility. That might mean keeping a small emergency fund that's truly separate from your regular savings, not for future goals, just for the unexpected. Even a few $1,000s can absorb the kinds of shocks that would otherwise derail a month. It might mean restructuring your fixed costs wherever possible, refinancing a loan, switching to a less expensive phone plan, moving one or two recurring expenses from automatic to optional. Small changes in your fixed costs create ongoing relief month after month. It also helps to create a buffer in your calendar. Many people manage their time the same way they manage their money, packed to capacity. But when something unexpected happens, a sick kid, a delayed project, there's no room to adjust. Building margin into your schedule often reduces financial stress indirectly because you're not constantly scrambling or paying extra for last-minute solutions. Another shift that helps: stop thinking about your financial life as pass or fail. It's not about hitting every target perfectly. It's about staying functional and reducing the number of things that can go wrong at once. That might mean prioritizing differently than you were taught. Maybe you put less into retirement for a year while you pay down a high-interest loan. Maybe you skip the vacation and use that money to replace the appliances that are about to break. These aren't failures. They're decisions that match your actual situation. The goal isn't to optimize everything. It's to reduce the stakes. It also helps to talk about this. One of the reasons middle-class financial anxiety is so exhausting is that it's invisible. People don't talk about it. Everyone looks fine from the outside, but behind closed doors, a lot of people are feeling the same pressure you are. When you start having honest conversations with friends, with a partner, with a financial advisor, the problem becomes less isolating. You realize it's not just you, and you start to hear what's actually working for other people, not the theoretical advice, but the real adjustments. Finally, there's a mindset shift that makes a big difference. Instead of asking, "Am I doing enough?" start asking, "What do I actually need to feel stable?" For some people, that's 3 months of expenses saved. For others, it's knowing they could cover one major surprise without debt. For others, it's just having a plan they trust. There's no universal answer, but when you define stability for yourself, instead of chasing someone else's version of financial success, the path forward gets clearer. Being middle class in 2026 is financially riskier than it used to be. That's not a personal failing. It's a reality shaped by housing costs, healthcare systems, education debt, and an economy that moved faster than wages did. But recognizing that reality is the first step towards managing it. You can't control the structure, but you can control your response. You can build margin, you can adjust your fixed costs, you can redefine what stability means for you. And when you do that, the constant low-level anxiety starts to lift. Not because everything is perfect, but because you've made room for things to go wrong without everything falling apart. You're not behind. You're navigating a system that changed the rules. And the fact that you're here thinking about this means you're already moving in the right direction.